who's joined today. So we're going to be recording this this event, and you will be able to watch it later if you want to. My name is Guillaume Prats. I am an associate professor at Stanford University in the Department of Radiation Oncology, and I will be moderating this this event and introducing our speakers today. So before I start, I want you to just take a few seconds. So let's go to the next slide. And I just want you to kind of close your eyes right now. Just close your eyes and think about the word radiation, and think about what comes into your mind as you think about this word. So if we go to the next, so I think you may have been thinking about maybe terrible things, because I think sometimes, you know, radiation has been associated with nuclear events, nuclear waste, many different things. But if we think about it again, next, we also have radiation can be associated with actually life-saving treatments that can cure people of their cancer and allow them to live, you know, many years after the treatment. And so radiation is this thing we're going to be talking about today, and which is used to help us in the fight against cancer. So all of you in this room today, virtual room, I guess, you know, about half of the people in this room who are men may actually have a risk of contracting cancer over their lifetime, and for women, it's one in three who may contract cancer. So cancer is essentially, you know, certainly a very significant health challenge. And even with all the treatments we have today, I think the risk of dying from cancer over one person's lifetime is between 1 in 5 and 1 in 6. So I think there's been progress over time. The rates of cancer have been going down steadily, especially with you know, better prevention, decrease in smoking, and better treatments. So, you know, cancer still remains the second cause of death in the United States. And among the different treatments available, radiation is used to control tumors. And this is along with surgery and chemotherapy. So about half of the patients who have cancer will receive some form of radiation as part of their treatment. And radiation can be given either to cure cancer, try to really eradicate the tumor, or it can be given to help improve the symptoms for the patient. And in this case, it's called palliative radiation. And so what is radiation? Radiation is a form of energy that's produced either by machines or by radioactive elements. And, you know, as radiation therapists, what we do is we harness this energy to direct it towards tumor, try to kill cancer cells and shrink tumors. Most common type of radiation that's used is X-ray. X-ray is also used for imaging, but it's commonly used for treating tumors. And the way that radiation works is it damages the DNA of cancer cells in their nucleus, which either kills them or prevent them from replicating. And this will lead to the eradication of the tumor, whereas normal cells are better at repairing DNA damage. And so they have a greater chance of surviving this type of treatment, although there will be some toxicity following the treatment. And so on the picture on the left here, this is a typical machine used for delivering radiation therapy. It's called the linear accelerator. We'll talk a little bit more about this throughout this session. So at Stanford, we know we are certainly proud of our historical heritage. And you know, one of the claims we have is that we were one of the first medical center to develop a technology called the linear accelerator that was, and the first to use it to treat tumors. So this is an improved way of generating high energy X-ray to treat tumors at even deep within the tissues of the patient. And so you can see on the left, this is the first linear accelerator that was made. And so now we have, you know, we have over 10 linear accelerators in our department that we use routinely to treat patients. And the picture here actually showing the first child who was treated with this technology in 1956. And this is a child that actually had a very good response to the treatment. And this is a very common therapy. And also, so here, what we're trying to do today is we're really trying to share our expertise and insight with you. And one of the reasons is, our field is, maybe could use more diversity, and we're really hoping to reach out to the young generation, inspire you to, maybe join us in this profession, helping cure cancer, treat patients. So this is just some demographics for people in this profession. So this is kind of the outline for today's talk. We'll have 6 speakers, and so the radiation therapy starts with the patient. Of course, it's patient-centered, and typically a patient will consult first with a radiation oncologist if they have cancer, which will try to prescribe a treatment. And so the treatment will be based on scientific evidence that is generally generated in the lab by radiation biologists. So we'll have one other presenter will talk about the research side, another presenter will talk about on the medical side, radiation oncology. And then next, the radiation oncologist will prescribe a certain amount of radiation dose to be given to the patient, and we'll work with a team that includes a physicist and a dosimetrist who will work together to design a treatment plan using this machine to deliver the radiation to the tumor while sparing the normal tissues around the tumor as much as possible. And then next, the planning team will give the treatment plan to a radiation therapist who will actually work to deliver the radiation to the patient using an accelerator or a different type of technology. And so finally, all these technologies also are being developed by physicists and engineers working in industry and research labs. And there's continuous development of new technologies that provide better delivery radiation with trying to spare the normal tissues. And hopefully after this, patients are cured of their cancer. Okay, so now we will move on to our first speaker. So I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Carol Marquez, who is a radiation oncologist, and she will talk about her experience and insights as a radiation oncologist.
Good afternoon. As you heard, my name is Carol Marquez, and briefly, just to talk about my education, I provide this map. And I started here, in Menlo Park. I currently live in a house 2 miles from the house I grew up in. But growing up here, right next to Stanford, I didn't want to stay. So I went all the way across to the East Coast to go to college. So I went to Harvard. And after spending 4 years there, I wanted to come home. So I came home and went to medical school at UCSF, a fantastic medical school in San Francisco. I had the great opportunity to be able to live with my grandparents while I was in medical school for the first 2 years, which was great because I learned a lot from them in watching them in many ways. You always learn a lot from the older generation. At UCSF, while I was in medical school, I had planned to be an OBGYN, and I changed my mind. I'll talk about that a little bit more later, and decided to become a radiation oncologist. And there was a fantastic mentor that I had there who encouraged me to stay in San Francisco to complete my residency, which I did. And then I did a 1-year stint here at Stanford for a fellowship. And then by that point, I was married and I had my first child. And I told my husband that I wanted to live with her as a grandmother. So he picked his mom. So we went up to Oregon, where I was at the Oregon Health Sciences and the Department of Radiation Oncology there, and was there for 23 years while I raised my children. And then I was fortunate enough to come back home and join the Department of Stanford again. So crisscrossed across the country, but made it literally full circle. Next slide. They asked me to talk about my background. So here's 3 pictures to show my background. These are my parents on their wedding day. My mom and dad my mom was from South San Francisco. She was Mexican. She was first generation. My dad is from Daly City. His dad was Filipino. His mom was Caucasian, and he was first generation from his dad, but not from his mom. they raised us. I grew up initially, we were all born in San Francisco. These are me and my sisters and my mom. And we were all born in San Francisco, lived in South San Francisco, and then moved down to Menlo Park when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in a different cultural landscape than my sisters did. And then this is me, my husband, my ex-husband, who I met in medical school, who went to Stanford, and then we both went to UCSF, and he's a physician. And then our two children, who now have bounced all around the country too. Next slide. So the skills that I had that allowed me to become a physician, and then ones that helped me specialize more in radiation oncology. I think the one that helped me throughout medical school and probably throughout college medical school is that I'm very curious. I'm always wanting to learn something more. I always want to know how something works. I think I always have a why question kind of percolating in my head at all times. I'm also very focused. I'm very fortunate. I consider myself lucky to not have a problem with focusing. I can sit down and do something for a very long time. This really helped me in college. I didn't get very distracted. I also had a long conversation with my older sister before I went to college. And she told me, try not to get distracted. And so I took that to heart because I realized I had a fantastic opportunity in going to Harvard and I didn't want to squander it. So I was able just to kind of buckle down, if you will, and really focus on my education. And the same was true in medical school. In medical school, the thing that led me to medical school was I have a fair amount of compassion, and I really love to hear stories from patients. And what I realized in medical school and additionally in residency is that I have an ability to translate complex information into something that a patient can understand. So I can take patients when they're facing a diagnosis of cancer, they have so much coming at them, and I can kind of distill it into a story that they can understand and they can hopefully make a informed decision from. And the thing that continues to drive me is I really love learning all kinds of things. I'm always trying to learn something. I'm taking classes and all those kinds of things, but that's what keeps me still learning now, because our field continues to change all the time. Things that I thought would never change that I learned when I was resident have continued to have gone by the wayside, and now there's whole new things that are in their place. So you have to kind of keep up, and you have to enjoy doing that. So I think that's all the slides I gave. Oh, and why did I pick radiation oncology? Like I said, I initially was interested in OBGYN. I really wanted to make healthy babies. I thought I wanted to really be involved in that. And I really disliked doing OBGYN. And it was because I had, there was just a lot of other things that went into making a healthy baby. It wasn't just about a healthy delivery process or even healthy prenatal care. It was really about the whole social construct of, health, childcare, social systems, all kinds of things that I knew I was never going to fix as a physician. And then I took care of a lot of cancer patients as a medical student. I ended up just kind of interfacing with a lot of cancer patients. It just happened that way. And I thought cancer was the most interesting disease I'd ever encountered. It's fascinating, still fascinates me, still the most interesting disease ever. And then I encountered, and I had always had, it's funny, Marie Curie was always like my idol, which that was from when I was a kid. And that just happened. And then I encountered radiation oncology, and I thought it was fascinating because it was still an anatomically based treatment. It was very efficacious. I could really see results for patients, and it combined a couple of things that I really enjoy, which is imaging. I love looking at pictures. I like the improvements that we were seeing in imaging when I was in medical school were dramatic, the advent of MRI and all kinds of things. And then I also really liked pathology. I could have been a pathologist if I weren't a radiation oncologist. And you got to look at a lot of pathology. These are the two kind of disciplines you interface with a lot. So for me, it was the perfect marriage. And I had some fantastic mentors when I was in medical school and in residency who really encouraged me to do this job. It's been extremely satisfying, still is 30 something years later.
Well, thank you, Carol. Really great. Oh, I guess there's one more slide. Sorry.
No, that's not me.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
This is just some information. So we'll move on to the next. And so now we're gonna kind of move from the physician to kind of the setting of the research lab, and we have a research manager, Moises Rivera, who's going to talk about his journey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Moises Rivera. I'm from Mexico. I grew up in Mexico and came to the States when I was like 17. So I started working in biotech field around 1990s. And the two companies are public companies. Systemics, I worked 10 years there. And I worked full-time and attend college part-time. First was ESL classes and then getting my general educations. And finally, I went to San Jose State. During that time, I was an animal technician taking care of animals in the research facility. And I got certifications as American Association Laboratory Science. And then once I graduated in 2001, couldn't find a job. I studied finance because all the .coms were going out of business. So I went back to research and I really love it, stayed here. Then in 2004, I came to Stanford. That's almost 20 years. And as a lab manager, based on the experience working with animals and then working in the lab and start managing different tasks in the lab. And I'll talk to you more about it. Then I was a laboratory life science research professional that is conducting experiments and working in the biology part. It includes working with animals, working with cells, and managing other lab-related chores. Next, please. Why we're using animals in biology, basic biology? In my role, we are a support group for radiation oncology. And this is why we use animals, are very similar to humans. In fact, mice share more than high percentage, 98%, 95% with us. Animals are susceptible to different diseases, including cancer. And we use as a model, for instance, to provide radiation to them and see the effects of radiation. And they have a shorter life cycle, so we can see what happened one generation to the other one. Lately has been a new technology called CRISPR-Cas9, and this is like editing cut and paste genomes to have a model that resembles more human diseases. And I tell you, we take good care of the animals. Good care of animals and research they go hand to hand. You have good animal care, you have great research. Next, please. Lab manager, my roles and different things that I did is to assist the principal investigator, or called PIs, with expenses. Like Guillem, he's a PI and runs experiments. So he gets financials and we make sure he always have money to pay for experiments and solutions, all that he needs. And also ordering supplies. And in the lab, we have to be safe, had to provide training. There is different regulations. Health and safety comes handy, and also managing protocols. That means extensive write-ups about what we do for animals, for biology, for biohazards, or stem cells. New lab members will come with training to use equipment and the different techniques, including microscopy, flow cytometry, tissue culture, and make sure the operations in the lab run very smooth. Participate in research and using radiation machine, if it depends on the lab, and troubleshooting. I'm very hands-on. I like to work troubleshooting. Outside Stanford, I fix my own car. I do house improvements. So for me, it's really, really a position that I really enjoy and I really love it. Next, please. This is a radiator machine. Before I ever saw one, I wasn't sure how that one looked. So it's very similar. Either you put the animals or cells in there, provide that doses that you need, and continue with the experiment. Next, please. This is how I see the basic research in biology, all working together. PI, the principal investigator, will have either a lab manager or somebody helping, postdocs, laboratory, life science research professionals. This position is important because a lot of students, after they graduate from college, they come and work in the labs, either to get experience, to publish papers while they apply for med school, or they apply for grad school. So they spend 1 year, a couple years in the lab. And sometimes students, they do honor thesis here at Stanford to get more experience, to have more weight in the CV for future career advancement. Also, we had demonstration support personnel, make things smooth for everyone. And since we work with animals, it's people working and supporting to make sure animals get a good care. Next, please. And so this is what lab manager. Typically, 4 years college. In my case, took me like 12 years because I was going part-time. And experience. And so lab manager, you gotta manage as things I mentioned before, some science, enjoy projects, tasks, learning a lot. It's always a curiosity to learn. And also it's important to talk to people that will continue with their careers, and hopefully they can take a good stance of communal and helping each other. I work in different buildings at Stanford main campus, but I come to Porter, or it's outside building, or I don't know, there was another one. The salary, that is the range. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Moises. We'll now move on to Maria, who's one of the dosimetrists working in the clinic at Stanford.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. First, I want to thank Ana Diaz for organizing these presentations. I am very, very thankful for that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background first. I think it's really important. I was born in Mexico. I came here when I was very young, and I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I went to Carmen High School. I've lived in East Palo Alto most of my life. And I went to Carmen High School in Belmont because East Palo Alto doesn't have a community high school. From there, I went to Foothill College, and I got into the radiation therapy program. And I was very, very fortunate to get a job at Stanford Healthcare. And so I started my first job as a radiation therapist in 1992. So I have grown, and most of my life been inside the radiation oncology department, and have seen a lot of developments throughout the years. I think it was one of the first slides they showed about the linear accelerator with that child was called LA1, linear accelerator number 1. I worked on linear accelerator number 2. And so I have seen developments in our technology and different outcomes and with our patients, and a lot of progress. And it's been a fantastic journey. It's a very exciting field. So from being a radiation therapist, I had the opportunity to do medical dosimetrist on-the-job training in 2004 through 2006. Then I transitioned to a full-time medical dosimetrist. So for more than 30 years later, Stanford continues to be my home, but my career now has a different path. So medical dosimetrist, can you go back, please? So the medical dosimetrists is mandated by AMD, and the concept of the AMD mandates the concept of medical dosimetrist training. And to be a successful medical dosimetrist, besides the formal training and didactic work, is to be a team player. I just want to emphasize that it's super important because we have a big team and we work with a lot of people. I'm very proud to work in the team that knows how to work with each other, as well as the big clinical team. And so we can go on to the next slides now. Thank you. So workflow for medical dosimetrists. So we start with the computer tomography, which is these slides you see here. It's a data set that is acquired. The physician and dosimetrist will establish goals of care. How much dose should the disease tissue receive? To what limit will it be safe in exposing normal tissue to radiation? The physician will give us the prescription and guidelines. The guidelines look a little bit like that. You see the EBRT dose constraints in the center there. That's a very small example of how the physician gives us guidelines to how to eradicate the tumor and at the same time save the normal tissue. So starting with that, the first, that picture with the lungs, we start with, we have a slide that where the physician identifies a tumor. Then the middle slide there, you can see that the red contour in the back of, yes, that's correct. That is a drawing where we call it PTV. That's where the doctor outlines where the disease is located. My job as a medical dosimetrist is to find the best angle that will treat that disease, which is outlined in red, and save the normal organs. For example, you can see on the last picture there with the, yes, that one, where we are coming in, that the red, the colorful area represents the energy, the radiation coming through. So in this situation, in this angle, you can only see it 2D, but in reality, it's a three-dimensional 3D plan. And we select the angle that best, that is the best entry point to eradicate that disease and saving, for example, the lung there is getting very little radiation, and there's a spinal cord in the center which gets nothing. We cannot really appreciate the amount with this single picture, but I can guarantee you that the highest dose is deposited in that red area that the doctor outlined, and that's what we use to kill the disease. So we treat the disease. I'm sorry, go back. Yes, thank you. So we treat the disease, we spare the normal tissue, we keep it simple. The reason it's very important to keep it simple is to reduce the time on the treatment machine, because the patient is laying down on this couch, exactly, and so it could be very uncomfortable, or they could be under pain. And so remember, we use radiation to cure disease and also for palliative reasons to improve the quality of life. Next slide, please. Thank you. So objectives, the objectives are to have a high dose to the target, low dose to critical structures, like you see in this dose volume histogram here. Treat the disease, spare the normal tissue, and keep it simple, like I said before. The tools that are described on the lower left-hand corner there are tools that come with the machine, the accessories that come on the head of that linear accelerator. Next slide, please. So training requirements. So like I said, the path has changed tremendously over the years. There are 4 years of undergrad bachelor degrees of science, 1 to 2 years of credit medical dosimetry program, didactic, clinical hours, and pass the medical dosimetry certification. If you're interested in this disease, in this field, I know that there is the didactic, the math, the physics, and biology, and a lot of computer work. But the most important thing is to have compassion and empathy for our patients. It is very, very important. And to be able to work as a team, work with the big team, be able to work with everyone. It is the most important thing that will help you be successful. Dosimetrists are employed by other hospitals or clinics, and it's often underground. It's shielded location. So radiation therapy is usually in the ground floor, but it's not like you're in a dungeon. It's just like another floor, but below, because we do need special shielding for our machines. And we can move on to the next slide, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Maria. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So we're now going to move on to the job of medical physicist. And so our speaker will be Ignacio, who's actually training to become a medical physicist. So please take it away.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Ignacio. I'm a physics resident here at Stanford, and I'll be talking about some of the responsibilities, kind of like in a broad view of what a physicist does. So we're essentially responsible for supervising all radiation treatments. What does that mean? So we need to make sure that the patient is following their treatment as scheduled, and that we're supervising the performance of all radiation producing machines. And these can be categorized into 3 things, meaning we need to make sure that the mechanical movements of our treatments are accurate, that the imaging that's on these machines is accurate, and also that the dose that's being produced by these machines is accurate. We also want to stay up to date with innovative methods to diagnose and treat diseases. So primary job of physicist is clinical service and consultation, but we can also get involved in research and development as well as teaching. And so one of my favorite things about the job is the science and the different technologies that are involved in radiation treatment and diagnosis. And just to kind of give you, insight into some of the technologies that we use here on the right-hand side, on the top image. This is a GIF of one of the more popular machines used in radiation treatments. It's called the Varian TrueBeam. And we can see that it's treating a lung cancer patient. And we see that as the gantry moves around the patient, we have these leaflets, these tungsten leaflets that kind of dance around and conform the beam to the shape of the disease that we want to target. And in this manner, we can also spare the healthy tissues from radiation dose. Other cool machines that we work with, on the bottom left, we have what's called the CyberKnife, which is a robotic arm that does its little dance around a patient. Essentially what happens, the machine images, and then it sees where the cancer is, shoots beam, images again, shoots beam, and it does this sequentially until the full treatment is delivered. In the more recent side of development, on the right-hand side, we have what's called the reflection machine. So this is a PEG-guided treatment, meaning a radio tracer is injected into the patient, and these radio tracers emit a signal that's captured by the detectors, and the treatment beam then follows this signal. So then we're getting real-time monitoring of this tumor lesion. And so job growth is expected within this decade to be about 9%, although I think it'll be much higher because this field is evolving very rapidly. Go on to the next slide, please. And so my story, how did I get here? I'm from Tulare, California. So it's a really small city between Fresno and Bakersfield. Actually, it's a little bit higher up if you want to point the cursor. There we go. Yeah. So right there, middle of nowhere, really, the only thing you see is crops, agriculture, and cows. So I did my bachelor's in physics at UCLA, go Bruins. And then I went on to San Diego State to do my master's in medical physics, and I had the opportunity to do some really cool MRI research there. After that, I went on to pursue a PhD in bioengineering, where I got the chance to work with some really cool people in functional X-ray imaging. And afterwards, I was fortunate enough to get admitted into Stanford for their therapy physics residency program. And I got one more, less than a year to go, I guess. So what is kind of like the general pipeline? How do you become a physicist, right? You need 4 years of undergrad, a bachelor's of science in physics, preferably, 2 to 6 years graduate school, MS minimum, although for most residencies prefer PhD. And then afterwards, you need at least 2 years of residency training. There are some programs out there that have 3 or 4 years of training, which are a little bit more geared towards research. And then you also need to fulfill your board certifications. We have to get our certification through American Board of Radiology, and it's 3 components, part 1 to part 3. So you may be interested in this field if you enjoy physics, biology, chemistry, engineering, and working with a computer. We spend a lot of time in front of a computer analyzing data, doing chart rounds, and you're really kind of a behind the scenes person of the healthcare team. Nobody really knows that a physicist even exists. I didn't know physicists even existed when I was an undergrad, and it's not until much later on towards the end graduation that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my degree, that I kind of stumbled upon medical physics, and I got curious. I asked questions, did my own research, and I absolutely love the field. So physicists are generally employed by hospitals, academic centers, private practices, also industry, and similar to the dosimetrists like Maria, we are in underground in a very well shielded location. Since radiation is involved, we want to make sure that the general public is protected from the radiation that's being produced by these machines. So salary, I think it's pretty good, I would say. So 50th percentile is about 215. With top earners making up to 250,000 to 270 annually in California. And this is from our organization salary survey. Our organization is AAPM, so it's the American Association of Physicists in Medicine. So next slide, please. And we have this, part of AAPM kind of goals. It strives to promote diversity, and so one of their programs is DREAM, Diversity Recruitment Through Education and Mentoring Program. It's a 10-week summer program. It's designed to increase the number of women and underrepresented groups in medical physics. Up to 6,000 awards are going to be rewarded to the selected applicants. To be eligible for this program, you need to be an undergrad, a sophomore, or a junior. You need to have declared a major in physics or engineering. You must be a U.S. and Canadian citizen, but you can also, apply if you're in a U.S. territory or if you're DACA. The application details are online at the AAPM website, and please submit your application before the deadline, February 5th, 2024.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ignacio. And now we're going to move on to our next speaker, who is also going to be, I think, the last speaker before we have our discussion panel. So Keith is a radiation therapist in our department, and he will be talking about this profession.
Good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be here for another year. It's really nice to be last because the team has really set me up, and all of the fruits of their labors when you talk about research, lab, physician, when you talk about medical physicists, it all comes down to one final piece. All of that hard work kind of falls and rests to the duty of a radiation therapist, which our responsibility is to take, to take that prescription from that physician and deliver that treatment accurately every day. Our duties consist of aligning our patients up to be sure that they are in the correct position, to verify that position with many different imaging techniques while they're being treated, and also after they've been treated. Typical day for a radiation therapist, we typically treat anywhere from 15 to 20 patients on a single machine with variant types of cancers. The one nice thing about radiation oncology and radiation therapists, opposed from all of the other radiologic modalities out there, our team, we really create some really good relationships with our patients and their families, with the understanding that a typical radiation course could be anywhere from 1 day to 44 days. So you could really be seeing someone and their family for 8 weeks, and they become part of your family. You become part of their family. So it's a very fulfilling job when you start to have those interactions with patients. Dr. Paxson mentioned earlier in the slides, when you start to look at survivals and the things that we in the past were treating just to manage pain. We are now treating for cure. So, I mean, you are catching a lot of cancers at early stages. So again, the effectiveness of the radiation that we deliver by the radiation therapists really help families and patients. So it's nice to, to provide that life-changing and compassionate care. It's a very fulfilling part of our job. Next slide, please. A little bit about myself. To be honest, I am a transplant to California. I was born and raised on the East Coast, New Jersey and Pennsylvania area. Coming out of high school, I was really undecided on where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to be in the medical field. So I looked at, lab technician. I had an interest in radiography. So I started out as a radiographer. So I went to a 2-year program. I worked as an X-ray tech for 9 years. And in that 9 years, I went back to college and got my Bachelor's of Science in Radiologic Technology. And as being an X-ray tech, that allows you or gives you a footstep right into a radiation therapy program. So I completed another year of radiation therapy school, and then became a radiation therapist, where I worked as a radiation therapist for 6 years, and then got promoted to a radiation oncology manager on the East Coast, which I did that for another 6 years. So I'm almost near 30 years of experience within the field. But come about 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to come on board at Stanford. So I picked my family up and we transplanted from Pennsylvania to California. So and I've been here since, and I love it, really do. So I originally came in as the radiation oncology manager at our Palo Alto location. And just a little piggyback, Maria mentioned when she came on board, LA1 was up and she started to work on LA2. We are currently right now bringing on LA20 at our Palo Alto location. So there's been a lot of change in the technology. So we are now at LA20. So we're 18 machines since Maria has started. And we'll go into a little bit about those different machines. The technology has gotten really, really exciting. And currently I sit here as the Director of Radiation Oncology Operations. There you go. No worries, I'm good. And for our next slide here, so just again, kind of going over the brief education and background for radiation therapists. So just as far as tracking for to become a radiation therapist, you have the top there. I followed the track on the left. Again, I went to a radiography program and then took an additional year to become a radiation therapist, and then completed my state and national boards. So that is one track. The second track is outside of going to an X-ray school, you can go directly into a radiation therapy program, which there are right now 2-year and 4-year programs throughout the nation. You would still have to sit for the national certification and your state licensing. What interests me to the field, and I hope interests you guys, is really having a interest in science, math, critical thinking, customer service, and patient service skills. I will say the last one, multitasking and being detail orientated, is very important. As the technology has gotten advanced, there are a lot of things going on at the treatment console at any given time. So, of course, being able to, multitask and handle all of the different platforms while, of course, delivering excellent treatment is very important. Radiation therapists can be employed in many different facets. We have some departments within Stanford that have one linear accelerator within their department. Here at Palo Alto, we have 10. So you can go from a small department to a big department. There are many departments within hospitals, of course, academic institutions. You can also say, hey, you don't want to be locked down to a particular place and you want to travel. There's definitely opportunity for radiation therapists to travel different countries, different states, and work on a yearly or a annual basis. Sales applications and also getting into research and development. In my 30 years as a radiation therapist, I can honestly say I know radiation therapists that have people that have started out as radiation therapists that have gone on to be physicians, that have gone on to be physicists, that have gone on to be medical dosimetrists, and a lot of them are, have definitely gone back to the research and development in hopes of making the platforms and the tools that we use on a daily basis more beneficial, not only for the patients, but also for the staff. Average salary in California is about $94K. We do have in the 75th percentile, you're at about 120. We do have some top earners of 147 and beyond, and that's as per Google search. And then our next slide here, just wanted to show you a couple of, I think, and Ignacio showed you some of these machines actually in motion, but just wanted to give you a little sense of the vast changes in technology that has happened through radiation oncology. So in the upper left-hand corner, that's your traditional linear accelerator. And then if you go to your upper right corner, that platform there is what we call, it's our Meridian ViewRay platform. And it's a real marvel where they've taken an MRI unit, which of course we know MRI units do not like metal, and they have combined a linear accelerator and packaged it with an MRI. So you get the high quality of imaging from an MRI while we're delivering treatment, but also have the power of high intense radiation delivery. Ignacio mentioned the other machine there on the lower left there, the reflection machine. Again, that's using, basically injecting the patient with a tracer, and that tracer goes to the tumor cells, and basically the tumor goes, hey, I'm right here. And as soon as that tumor says, I'm here, our machines are delivering a beam of radiation back at it. So it's almost like the tumors are telling on themselves, and we're able to locate them exactly where they are. The last one I do want to talk about is in the lower right-hand corner. It's a little blurry machine, but that is that's a project that's actually coming to Stanford within the next year or so. That is a proton machine. And if anyone knows anything about protons, I was actually in a meeting yesterday when the initial proton machines were developed. These things took city blocks for all of the technology and just for them to get that high energy harnessed. Here, 2024, 2025, we have the ability of taking that machine that was taking over a city block, and they have got it scaled down to about half of a basketball court. And we will be having one of those machines delivered here at Stanford in Palo Alto within the next 2 years. So again, the technology just has gotten so exciting. It's gotten so much compact, and again, it just allows us to deliver the absolute best patient care and radiation treatment that we can. And not only to California, but of course, across the world. And for my last thing here, I just want to start this video. This was an interesting video from a patient was under treatment. He wanted to give his family the perspective of what he does on a daily basis.
I wipe my brow and I sweat my rust. I'm breathing in the chemicals. I'm breaking in, shaping up, and checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up. I feel it in my bones. Enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age, welcome to the new age, to the new age. I'm radioactive, radioactive. I'm radioactive, radioactive. Raise my flag, down my clothes. It's a revolution, I suppose. We're painted red to fit right in. Whoa. I'm breaking in, shaping up, and checking out on the prison bus. This is it, the apocalypse. Whoa, I'm waking up. I feel it in my bones. Enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age, welcome to the new age, to the new age. I'm radioactive, radioactive. I'm radioactive, radioactive. All systems go, sun hasn't died. Deep in my bones, straight from inside. Waking up. I feel it in my bones. Enough to make my system blow. Welcome to the new age, to the new age, welcome to the new age, to the new age. I'm radioactive, radioactive. I'm radioactive, radioactive.
Okay. Well, thank you, Keith. So I think this concludes the presentation. Now we are welcoming our speakers to join us. And we are going to be here to answer your questions. So, you know, we really, you know, anything you want to ask us, please send these questions so either through the chat or you may raise your hand and then we will, you know, we will bring you online. So the other thing too I want to mention, you know, I want to thank our speakers for really their great presentation. You can contact them directly to the email addresses that you see here. I also want to thank Anna for helping us manage this session. So thanks a lot. So let's get started with some questions. Yeah, please. So please raise your hand, type your question in the chat, and you know, I'm gonna actually, we had a few questions that were submitted beforehand, so I'm gonna first ask. So if you're a student, how do you get involved in radiation oncology, right? What are the best ways to maybe get to experience this and see if this is the right track for you? So I can ask our speakers, what would you suggest to our students?
I guess I can start first. I can say again, just hands down, I would be very happy to entertain anyone willing and wanting to come through the department. We have a great volunteer or visitation department. We can definitely get something scheduled if someone has an interest in radiation therapy. And again, not only to see the stuff that's the treatment machines, but we can also get you into the medical dosimetry department and maybe some of the research stuff. So please feel free to reach out, and if we can accommodate, we would definitely be happy to.
Yeah, I also want to mention, I run a lab, and we do get applications from student interns for internship in the summer. We're always happy to welcome interns to work in the lab for the summer, more on the research side, trying to understand, how radiation works and how we can make it better for patients. So, and I think Anna is sharing some links in the chat. So, there's links to the labs. There's a link also to our YouTube channel, which has some educational videos, and we'll also have probably the recording of this talk if you want to watch it later. And there's also a link to the APM program that was mentioned earlier. So let's maybe send out more questions. Anyone? I'm sure you have questions about this, right? Okay, I see a question for Ignacio. How was it getting your PhD? What was the experience like?
So PhD, it's hard. I think probably if you're looking for a PhD, it's a personal choice first and foremost. If you need to be curious and willing to work on a very specific research project. know that, things can flip on you at any moment in time. That was the case for me, at least when COVID hit, kind of my research trajectory completely changed. And I think the most important thing is when you're looking for a PhD group to work with, make sure that you can get along well with the PI, peer advisor, and with your lab members, because this is the group of people that you're going to be working with for the next 4 to 6 years. So you really want to make sure that it's gonna be sustainable during that time. So hopefully I answered your question during Oliver.
Yeah, okay, so I see another question coming in here. What do Dream Fellows do after internships? Can community college students apply? So yeah, I can take that. So the internship is basically a way to get some experience. And basically what you're doing here today, like watching this, is the first step, right? You have to show up, and then so doing an internship will be the next step. You really get to get hands-on experience. This is something you can put on your CV that helps you basically go to the next step, right? So we take community college students. We actually had students from Hartnell College. I don't know if anybody's from Hartnell here, but we've had 3 students from Hartnell. We had students from Foothill College as well in through our lab. So definitely, like, it doesn't matter if it's community college or full university, you can apply for internships. And it's really the experience, right? It's you learning and you getting your hands on some research project. I'll go to the next. Yeah, so it's Hartnell and Salinas. Yeah, we had really great students from there. So kudos to you guys. You really did great. So what is a common workday look like? I think that really will depend, like, who's answering the question. But maybe I can ask. Why don't I ask Carol first? What is your day like?
So my day now, physicians do. Their days can be very different among physicians. If you even look within our department, we have physicians who are primarily clinically based, meaning they see mostly patients and take care of patients for most of their workday. And then we have physicians who are also very research based, where 80% of their time can be spent working in the lab and 20% can be taking care of patients. So if I just talk about the clinical part of a workday for a radiation oncologist, any radiation oncologist usually has patients that they're either seeing as new patients, so that they're they're reviewing their history, they're looking at their films, they're talking with their patient about the pros and cons of having radiation. So you have those patients. You have the patients that you're getting ready. You're working with Maria to get the treatment ready for patients who are going to start radiation. You have patients who are actively under treatment that are being treated that you need to evaluate and monitor to see how well they're tolerating the radiation. And then you have patients that you're going to be seeing in follow-up after their radiation's been completed. And you're looking at those patients to see how well they did with the treatment, how well their tumor responded, and if they have any late side effects from radiation. In any given day, you can have patients at any point in their treatment course, from not yet started to being 5 years out from their treatment. But basically, I'm a clinical radiation oncologist, meaning I see patients for the most part. I have some administrative academic things that I do, but for the most part, I take care of patients. So my day is spent seeing patients at any of those different steps along the way.
Yeah, is it okay? Well, thank you, Carol. Anybody wants to add to that, or?
Sure,
I think.
can.
Go ahead, Maria. No, go ahead.
Sorry. So my a typical day in dosimetry would be we sign up for patients. We huddle up in the morning with the team. We make sure that the patients coming in for simulation have been assigned a dosimetrist. Once we get our patients assignments, then we wait for the scans. The scan comes in. We outline the vital organs around the area of interest. then we ship out that scan to the doctor, like Dr. Marquez, and she will outline the tumor. Then we get the scan back, create the plan, the 3D plan, and use all those tools that we showed before. Then we again send the plan out to the MD. They review the plan, and then they might ask for editing of that plan. They might say, okay, can you lower the dose to this particular organ? And then they approve the plan. Then we ship the plan out to the radiation therapist. So all day is a constant communication with various teams. Our plans are second checked by physics like Ignacio, and that's what we do. Just we work on the computer, communicate all day with different teams, and we don't always work behind the scenes in dosimetry. Many times we also go to the simulator and assist and work alongside with the radiation therapist to make sure that the immobilization of the patient is what we the most optimal for the patient. Thank you.
Great.
And I'll just piggyback real quickly on them from a radiation therapist perspective. Typically, morning starts with a warm up and all of the QA procedures that we have to do on our machine before our clinical day starts. So every machine is verified on a daily basis that it is on point and delivering the correct amount of radiation, and all of the functionality is working. And then for the radiation therapist, you have kind of three different groups. You have the one team that's working specifically on the treatment machines, delivering the radiation. You have the second team, which Maria was talking about, the simulation team. Everyone has a CAT scan prior to radiation. The doctor uses that CAT scan to figure out their plan. Our responsibility is to get those patients in a position that we can reproduce every day. When I said before, patients could be on treatment from 1 day to 44 days. Every day we have to set them up the same exact way. So it's really important that we get that simulation piece together and that is strong, because that will carry them throughout. The third part of the radiation therapist, we do spend time in the OR. We do spend time on some more intense or some more other procedures and brachytherapy and stuff like that. So it's a really busy day. There's a lot of things going back and forth, a lot of technology. So
great. There's another question for Ignacio. So I think you mentioned that the training requirement includes undergrad bachelor degree of science in physics. So how about students who are from other majors? Is there a path for them to go into medical physics?
So you need to have the route is a bit it's a bit weird. So prior to getting into residency, you need to have fulfilled CAMPIP requirements, and those are usually fulfilled by a CAMPIP accredited graduate program. And to get into those programs, then you need to have fulfilled science and engineering, which are typically fulfilled by physics. And some of the courses, it's like calculus, quantum physics, thermodynamics, kind of like your typical undergraduate physics courses. And those sometimes can be taken in conjunction with while you're doing your graduate program. So it has to be a related degree, I would say. So physics, engineering, those are good majors to have.
I think generally there's a bit of flexibility for students who are from a slightly different major. There's ways they can maybe petition to enter these programs with maybe taking an additional course, and even for the for residency, this certificate you can take afterwards. If you haven't gotten your PhD in the right exact program, there's ways to still join these programs. Okay, so let's see. Maybe we can ask for if there's any final questions. Otherwise, I think we want to thank. Oh wait, sorry. There's a question here. Is the MCAT required for medical school? How do you prepare for it? So,
I can answer that. To the best of my knowledge, yes, it's still required for medical school. It's not like the SATs that have gone by the wayside, that the MCAT is still required for medical school. And there's many ways to prepare for it as any other standardized test. So there's studying on your own, and there's also taking classes that are specifically preparatory classes for the MCATs. It is a standardized test. And the importance of the MCAT in terms of your admission to medical school has varied over the years. And it's kind of a bar you have to reach. For many medical schools, it's a bar you have to reach. You have to show that you can master this type of information and do well on standardized testing, because they're used throughout medical school. But then in terms of getting into medical school, you then have to demonstrate that you can use the information, that you can communicate with patients. So the interview process is also a very important part of getting into medical school. So it isn't just the MCAT alone.
There's another interesting question. I think, maybe some of you wondered about that. What about the risks of radiation for us working in this field? I mean, are there any hazards that we may be exposed by treating patients? So maybe
I'll take it first. I'll take the first part of that. All right. So very great. That's a great question, and by no means rude at all. It's a very fair question. So the one thing is, specifically when we talk about treatment delivery, when we are delivering the radiation to the patients within the treatment machine, they are the only persons that are allowed in the room at that time is the patient. The radiation therapist set the patients up, and then we step out of the room, the vault door closes, and that's when the radiation starts. And we also do wear monitors, so we are monitored on a monthly basis, just to be sure that that everyone is no one's getting exposed. So, and that is basically the basic rule throughout radiation oncology. No one is in the beam while the delivery is happening outside of the patient.
And we have protocols in place to ensure that radiation is being used safely and for the intent. So, for example, if the vault door is open, the beam will not come on. And for dosimeters, they're turned in. Our health physics department reads them, and there are regulations in place to say that if you've been exposed past your annual limit, which is very, very small, then you have to be away from the treatment machine. So everything is very well regulated and safe to use. And also like the shielding. So right now that we're bringing in a new machine, one of the tests that we do is we turn on the machine and we kind of shoot it all over the place and make sure that there's no radiation outside of those vault walls. So that's one of the things that we do as physicists as well. We help the health physics department to make sure that our shielding requirements are fulfilled for these treatment machines. So it's a very safe environment.
And truthfully, probably radiation oncologists, for the most part, actually get less exposure than some other disciplines that use a lot of like cardiac interventional cardiologists that do a lot of cardiac cath. They get where they're using radiation active fluoroscopy. They get more radiation exposure than radiation oncologists do anymore, because we've worked so hard to eliminate our exposure. We have many pregnant residents at any given time who do just fine.
Yeah, I think there's probably, it's a very safe profession, I think. And there's one final question regarding postdoctoral positions in the department. And we do have many postdoctoral fellows working in our research labs. And you can go visit the website of the different labs, and they will usually advertise these positions. And typically the position will be for a specific lab. There's sometimes collaboration where multiple labs, a postdoc may work with multiple labs. More usually, each postdoc is within a specific lab. So, okay, I think maybe I want to thank our speakers again, and let's please give them all a round of virtual applause. And thank you all for making this effort to attend this information session. I hope this was useful. And we are very welcoming. You can reach out to us by email. We're happy to answer any questions later. And we will send out a survey if you could just a few questions, just answer that. That will also be helpful to us. So thank you all, and yeah, good luck with all your studies. Bye-bye.
Thank you.